I'm Sarah Knight, and welcome to It's Got Pockets, where just like finding the surprise pockets in your favourite trousers, I'm bringing you perfect pockets of joy and realness. Every week, I'm having unfiltered conversations with women who crack the feck on, even when life gets proper lifey. Women with experience, expertise and wisdom. Because sometimes the best stories start in the middle. Women who've been there, done that, and they're still figuring it out. Join me for real talk, useful tactics, and all the swears in between that make your life and business feel that bit more manageable. Hello. Welcome to another episode of It's Got Pockets. I am very excited about today. Well, I'm very excited about every podcast I record, but my guest today is absolutely in my wheelhouse of what floats my boat and what makes me feel super fabulous. It is the amazing Abbey Booth, who is a personal stylist and the founder of a brilliant company and concept called Stories with Clothes. And we're going to delve into a little bit of that and what it means to us as women today, what it means to us for how we dress. I talk a lot when I'm coaching about how we dress for our day and what that gifts us and dressing from the inside out. Have you got a good pair of knickers on? Are you wearing a bra? Are you not wearing a bra? We're going to talk about all the things. One of the things that Abbey, who's an award-winning stylist and body shape expert, talks about is she talks about style is self-care. And when we dress for ourselves from the heart outwards, we feel utterly ourselves. And I bloody love that, Abbey. Welcome to the podcast. Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And my trousers definitely have big pockets in, so it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and that's it, isn't it? It's like one of those things why I called the podcast It's Got Pockets is because it's about how we have conversations as women, you know, how we network as women, how we connect as women. You know, you walk into that meeting where you're scanning the room for someone that you feel comfortable with, that you want to have a conversation with, and you look around and you see that woman that there's something in there that makes you resonate with her, and you walk up and you go, oh my God, I love your trousers. And the first thing that woman says is, it's got pockets.
It's got pockets. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's such a door opener, isn't it? You know, a conversation starter, especially in those moments when you're feeling a bit like, oh, you know, you walk, like you said, you walk into a room, perhaps you're not vibing with everyone. You're feeling like, oh, should I be here? And all of those sort of voices that pop up in your head in those scary moments. And then you spot that woman or those few women that you think, yes, I need to go and talk to them. And it's a way in, isn't it, to start talking about the pockets, the outfit, or whatever it is. It's a way in, and it's often a way in for people to come and talk to me as well. They might make a comment about my glasses. I've got bright neon green glasses, and I think that's sometimes a safe and comfortable way for women to start the conversation, and I love that. I love the power of that as well.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I grew up in business almost thinking that those feminine conversations we shouldn't be having. You know, we shouldn't be showing up in the workplace. We shouldn't be showing up in our conversations when we're trying to build our careers and move forward as business women. And we shouldn't be going, oh my God, I love your skirt, because then that minimizes almost our impact. But it's not true, is it?
No, it's so not true. And also, if your podcast and your whole ethos is around this, isn't it? About dressing for the day that you want, dressing for the life that you want, dressing for the experience that you want. And listen, we're not always waking up feeling like that, are we? So, you know, we sometimes dress ourselves confidence, we dress ourselves happy, we dress ourselves boss lady, whatever you want to call yourself or feel. And that then takes you where you need to go. And then your brilliant self takes you and the outfit is supporting you. I always think your outfits are like your best friends, and they want to get out and be seen and share the joy with you. And they're there on those like tricky days where you're not feeling it, or you've had a bad night or whatever's going on in your life. But they're there for you on the great days as well. And you always have that outfit that you reach, that you know you feel great in. And that's why I always liken clothes to best friends, because they can really support you like a proper best friend as well, that literally is your cheerleader. And that's what you want your whole wardrobe to be.
And when you say like style is self-care, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is every day we have a choice when we get up. So a bit like you were saying, like, you know, have you got the underwear on? Have you got your favourite knickers on? My underwear is usually red because it's my favourite colour. I'm not always wearing red, but I put that on first because it's like a gift to myself. Nobody else knows it unless I want to show off my red bra, which I might do. Sometimes people will be like, oh, I like the shirt. And I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing a red bra under it. Very, very appropriate, but fun. But for me, it's like a gift to myself, saying you're important, you're valued, you have self-worth, you are brilliant at what you do, etc., etc. And it's doing it right from the skin outwards, so that then when you put the outfit on, you're already saying kind things to yourself. Because I think as women, it's really easy to talk down to ourselves, talk bad about ourselves. You've got those naggy voices in your head all the time. And actually, if you can dress kind of from the heart outwards, then it's almost like creating a shield around you, a shield of positivity, a shield of confidence, a shield of joy, a shield of badassness, or whatever, your sexiness, whatever. It's like, do you want to feel sexy? Great, let's dress sexy then. Do you want to dress really smart and confident because you've got an interview? Great, dress like that. But it's about making an active choice, really. So I would think self-care is an active choice. And I think as women, we have to work quite hard to get self-care into our day because we have a lot of guilt around it. And we probably put a million other people before ourselves. So I think if we start that day with that feeling of I'm putting on the underwear, I'm putting on the red bra, or I'm putting on the dress, or I'm putting on the shoes, whatever it is, even if it's a brooch you love, it's a gift to yourself.
And oh my God, that is just like mic drop, isn't it? Because one of the things that got me thinking there about what you were saying is that when we talk about it, when I coach women, when I'm working with women, we're talking a lot about how we talk to ourselves. That inner narrative is one of the first things, the first hurdles that we need to navigate before we can move forward on our inner work, on our inner edge. And actually, putting on something that we like, whether it's your red bra or your brooch or your good pair of knickers, or like me and you are really big fans of our glasses, aren't we? I always have my presentation glasses. These glasses are going to make me feel good about the day. Actually, that doesn't have to be about standing in the mirror and high-fiving ourselves, which will potentially can make us feel a bit cringe. The first step, the easiest step, is to put on something that makes us feel good. For me, it's jewelry. I have earrings and my necklaces and my bracelets, and they're almost my anchors to remind me. It's those reminders, isn't it, to go, you're okay, you can do that.
All right, we've got this. Yeah. I always wear this big ring. I know not everyone will see it, but it's a huge ring that I wear from a brand called Yaya London, which is a woman-led sustainable brand, because women do great stuff in the world. And if I'm feeling a bit anxious or nervous, I find myself kind of stroking it. It's almost like worry beads or something. And it really just helps ground me. And I think, God, it's such a small thing, yet it's a really powerful thing. And it's there and it's available to me. It's not expensive. It's not big. It's not extravagant, but it's still there and it's still important. And it really helps and it grounds me if I've got those anxious moments or I'm just about to go on stage somewhere. And I do it almost absent-mindedly. And I love the fact that is there for me. And I can make it, again, the active choice about putting that ring on and knowing that it was made by a woman with love for other women to wear and enjoy and love and feel flipping fantastic in as well. So, if we can do that for ourselves, I think it's a superpower, and we perhaps don't always tap into it. And it's there. We have a wardrobe, we have a body, we have clothes. Like, let's just go out and do it and enjoy it.
And that's, from a point of view of using your ring as your anchor, that's a brain science embedded NLP technique that like you say, you're probably doing subconsciously, but it's reminding yourself how great you are. And that's how we start to change the narrative of our brains. And what happens it's called anchoring in NLP. When we do it more, so when you touch the ring that actually makes you feel brilliant, for me, it's a bracelet or a necklace, that reminds you, or that anchoring technique reminds you that you can do this, you can show up, you can move forward. And it's something that we can practice. And it's something that often as women, like you say, it's more accessible because we often have a piece of jewelry or a piece of clothing, or, as we're getting older, our blinking glasses, from a point of view of something that actually reminds us subconsciously, as long as we repeat it and practice it and do the work that goes, you can do this, you can show up in this meeting, you can show up in this business, you are capable, you have this potential, it's all there. It's doing the work with it, and it's starting that work with style and fashion and how we do it. So I guess if we're talking to my lovely listeners that are listening, I'm a massive fan of style and fashion. I've always loved style and fashion. I wanted to be a fashion buyer and then realised that I went down to London, worked in Harrods, and realised that I needed 18 months on the shop floor before they'd let me onto the fashion buying course. And I was like, maybe not. And came back up to Manchester and fell into PR as you do. I was talking to someone else about how everyone falls into PR. But I love it and I love how it makes me feel. But when I'm feeling shitty about myself, which has happened loads, and especially going through the menopause and navigating all those humps in the road, put weight on, and then I put things on that made me feel comfortable, but also made me feel probably a little bit more shit about myself. Whereas now I've done, I've done more work, I've lost a bit of weight, I'm feeling better about myself, and I'm naturally dressing better. So if you're in that period where you're feeling a little bit shitty about yourself, how do you help women tap into it?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. And that's probably, I think for me at the moment, it's probably where a lot of my clients are coming from, a place of not quite feeling like themselves because their bodies have changed through menopause. And all of a sudden they're just like, I literally don't know what to do with this body and it doesn't even feel like me. So there's a huge disconnect. So for me, it's about connecting the dots back up and giving them some tools that are really easy to put into place. So one of the things I often start with is understanding body shape and proportions. Which sounds sort of really complicated, like it's maths. I'm rubbish at maths, so it's nothing to do with maths rather, but it's just about where the portion of your body lies. So it's, are you long in the torso? Have you got long arms? Have you got shorter legs? And body shape comes into that. A lot of women now don't worry so much about body shape, which can be really freeing, but actually for a lot of women, it gives them tools that they can understand and a bit of a framework to move forwards from. And then it's about getting creative. I don't listen to all the rules. They're not rules anyway, they're guidelines, because the fashion police don't exist. They definitely don't exist. We do with them. But sometimes having those parameters is quite powerful to give you a sort of a framework to start from. So that can really help. With a lot of menopausal women, and it's happened to myself included, is I've really thickened up through my waist. I'm a pear shape, but I've always had a really tiny waist. I'm a size 16, by the way. So I do get it. I'm a kind of normal size. Actually, average size in the UK is an 18, but brands don't cater for that often, but that's a whole other subject. So for me, thickening up through the waist, it really changed my perception of myself, and how I dressed, because a lot of my clothes didn't fit me any longer, and it felt really bad having to go up a size or two. And I think as women, we're really governed by numbers. Yeah, we really are. I'm, like I say, not a maths person at all, but I see it time and time and time again. And we feel like it's failure to go up a size. And actually, is it failure or is it a kindness? To wear clothes that are really tight and uncomfortable, that's actually unkind. That is a bit of a failure in itself. So sometimes it's about recognizing that and going up a size or two if you need to. You can always come back if things change for you, but actually being comfortable is really important, especially when it's weight around the middle, because it literally cuts you in two and you can't breathe, you can't sit down. I mean, how can you perform to your best? As women, we're trying to change the world, right? So I see my role to enable women to feel more confident, more comfortable, to go and do the amazing shit they need to do to change the world for the better. And if they can do that right at the beginning of the day by putting on something that feels comfortable and makes them feel amazing, then we are winning, because then I've enabled one woman, two women, three women, and it ripples out to go and do the good stuff. So I think first off is sometimes acceptance is key, and acceptance can feel like a failure, but acceptance is actually super powerful. It's saying, okay, my body has changed. I'm on a journey. So maybe I am going to lose a bit of weight, or maybe this is going to be how it is. And I have to learn to accept, understand, embrace, and then learn how to dress this one beautiful body that I've been given in this one big, beautiful life that I need to live. So that's kind of where we start. And it's a huge subject, body shape, because it is really emotional for a lot of women. I work with a lot of women who've had mastectomies, who've perhaps had breast reductions. And that is a massive journey for them. And it's a very similar thing. It's understanding, embracing and accepting. And those are really key words with body shape when you're not feeling great about yourself.
And I think That is so important, isn't it? Because I find that acceptance piece the hardest, and I know that, that's where I put weight on. And I know I've got a couple of friends who are really struggling with it at the moment because they've always had this body shape. And then all of a sudden, the thickenings come around the waist and they're working harder than they've ever worked on their body. They're doing more muscle strength. They're doing the strength training. They're doing all the things that we should be doing to make sure that we can still climb mountains when we're 80, and yet you put something on, and because you've had that thickening around the middle, you just feel a little bit shit. And I think that's the really hardest hump to get round, because all of a sudden then you're looking at your wardrobe, and I was talking to a friend last week and she was like, I'm literally sat on my bed in my underwear and I've tried on every single goddamn thing in my fucking wardrobe and I hate everything. I hate everything. So what do you say to the woman that's saying that to you?
Yeah. If I was with them in the room when we were doing a wardrobe edit, we would just really gently go through it, because often when people say they hate all their wardrobe, what they're actually saying is they hate the way they feel at the moment. And they're two quite different things. So we work really gently and really kindly through gently auditing, or refreshing as I like to call it, the wardrobe. Editing sounds hard and like we're going to chuck everything out, and everyone always says, yeah, I want to throw everything out. But actually the reality is very few clients, I've worked with over 400 women, and I've only ever had one client who genuinely wanted to and did get rid of a lot of her clothes. Most of the time it's actually quite a gentle audit, and it's going through and working out actually what does fit, what feels comfortable, what doesn't, what feels aligned. Because also when we get to the age where we might be experiencing perimenopause or whatever, sometimes our lives has changed as well. And actually it's the disconnect with who we're becoming, not necessarily always the body and what's happened to that, although that can be a huge element of it. But sometimes it's that we are dressing for the woman that we are, not for the dressing for the woman that we're becoming. And that is so powerful for me. And one of my big kind of mantras that I see you before you do. Because a lot of the women are coming to me because they know that they want to make a change. They know they've got big, powerful stuff to do, and they just can't quite get there. And so it is usually that disconnect, and it might be feeling bad in the clothes because of the body shape change, but actually it's deeper rooted. It's more powerful than that. And it's navigating what that is and then helping them get there. And sometimes it might be that we need to buy a few new clothes, but it doesn't need to be a massive overhaul. It's sometimes a gentle shift to enable them to go and make the big, powerful moves that they need to step into the woman they're becoming.
Oh my God, let's just go back a second. Fucking hell, Abby. There's just there's so much gold.
I was getting very animated there. My earrings
Get your earring back in, my friend, and let's just go back a minute. There's so many things I need to pick out of that goal that you've just said. The first thing is that disconnect with the women we are becoming, because it is such a pivotal change in our lives. I work with so many women who are going, what do I stand for now? What do I stand for? How do I want to live? What does it mean? I've got an itch that needs scratching, but I've no fucking idea what it is. Do I keep doing what I'm doing? Do I build it? Do I scale it? Do I do something completely different? This weekend I was like, I want to live by the sea because I was in Wales with all my favourite people. And then you come back, and then the monotony, the need, the regularity of life gets in the way, and gets in the way of us being who we're becoming. And I fucking loved what you said. I see you before you do. And that must be so empowering with the women that you work with. When you say that to them, do you see the scales fall off them?
Yeah. Sometimes they don't quite believe it, but I always describe it as like an unfurling. Because they know it, but they almost need someone to A, give them permission, B, to recognise it perhaps as well. But when I kind of see it happening, and it's such a joyful thing, and it's literally, that's what I'm addicted to. I'm addicted to that little smile I see when they just got it, and I put them in something that's perhaps challenged them a little bit. It's not scary. Sometimes it's a bit scary, but it's totally them. But it's this next becoming of them. And that's what they're then trying to see in the mirror if we're at their house, or if we're out shopping together. then they kind of look in the mirror. And I shopped with a client recently, and she was like, "Oh, this is like too much dress for me. I don't, you know." And I was just like, "Well, just try it." And she tried it, and when she looked in the mirror, she sort of turned round, and I could see there's the little corner of her mouth just went up, and I was like, she can see it. Oh, I get goosebumps now.
You've given me goosebumps. I'm like, that's made me a bit emotional. I'm feeling a bit like, yeah. And it's
really needed that as well, you know. And it's so beautiful when it happens. And then she just turned to me and she was like, "I fucking love it." And I was like,
and that's it, isn't it? Is that it's that feeling of when you put something on that maybe you've not put an outfit together, but this is the power of you, isn't it? Because it's having that extra person. So we had it in a very different way in Wales this weekend. So we were away there was 12 women all together. We were celebrating a friend's the start of one of my friends' 50th, because she's not actually 50 until the end of the summer, but she's going for it. She's doing what I did. She's going for a 50th year of celebrations. Love it.
excellent.
And she came in and she was where we were going for a walk, and she came in and she was like, I said, "You've got jeans on. It's bloody gorgeous out there." She went, "Well, I've got these shorts that I bought, but I'm not sure they suit me." And I saw them on someone. And and we do this is the thing that I want to ask you about. We see it on someone and I go, "Oh my God, I want to look like that." So then I put the outfit on and then I don't look like that. And then it pisses me off and almost takes me under a little bit more. And she said to me, she said, she listens to this podcast, so she'll be cringing like fuck now. But she basically said to me, she said, I've got these shorts and I saw them and they don't suit me, and I went, "Go and put them on. Let's have a look, and I'll tell you, brutal honesty." And she put them on and she looked fucking brilliant. And I was like, "What are you doing, woman? They look amazing." And my other friend was like, "Oh my God, they look amazing. Wear them. Wear the goddamn shorts."
Yeah.
And that recognition, that almost acceptance from another human was what she needed to give herself permission to try it, to do it, to then walk out in it. So part of your job is giving women permission to be who they're meant to be, isn't it?
Yeah. It so is. And it's it's like a revelation when they kind of feel it and there is someone there to support them. And I always say I'm become your biggest cheerleader, even after the experience, because I check in with my clients. I want to see how they're doing, and hear the highs and the lows, but seeing the journey unfold is a beautiful thing, and it's such a privilege to be part of it. And for some women it's huge change, and for other women it's small change, but it's still those changes that they need to then live the life that they want to be living. And that's what's so beautiful. And it's so freeing as well, isn't it? Imagine how your friend felt stepping out wearing the shorts. She'd gone out in the jeans, she'd have been like hot, probably a bit flustered, probably regretting wearing them, yet having her support network around her enabled her to wear the flipping shorts, feel really comfortable, feel really confident, get a bit of sun on her skin. How gorgeous is that? But it is, like you say, we sometimes just need that permission. And it's not a bad thing as such, because if we feel that way, we feel that way. And if no one else is giving us permission, and we kind of need that validation from someone else, and then it enables us to be more confident with our choices and wear shorter shorts next time, or wear a skirt, or whatever it is, then that's fine by me. That's what women need. They need it.
It's that community, isn't it? That one of the things that I do through my membership, Found Her Fire, is all about how we build that community of cheerleaders around us. And they can be challenging cheerleaders, because sometimes kindness is also about being direct, and sometimes kindness is about being honest as well. But it's building that community of the right women around you that know that they have your back, have your tribe. And that's what I'm all loved up from that this weekend, because I had a couple of really significant friendships fall apart, and it really rocked me. And this weekend I was like, oh my God, I've got my tribe back. And you've got these people around you that just want nothing for you other than goodness. And it's easy and it's brilliant. And one of the things that's really important about that is then you find that whole women supporting women network. You find that place. But then we were talking about this before we hit record. Sometimes women aren't very good at supporting other women, are they? There's a little bit of
No, they're
elements
not.
out.
No.
So
Yeah.
you've just had a post that's gone viral, and we were talking about the fact that actually the biggest meanness is coming from other bloody women.
Yeah, yeah. Sadly, it always does, and it's for some reason it's always on Facebook as well, which is not a place I'm particularly happy being. But but yes, I had so many comments, and it happened again over the weekend. Weirdly, had a post that went viral on Facebook, but not on Instagram. It's so fascinating. I can't quite figure it out, but either way, lots of comments coming in, always from women, older women often as well, actually, and deeply unkind. Not just if you don't like something, you can just walk past. I mean, would you stop everybody in the street to say, "I don't like your hair. You look like a man. I wouldn't wear that top. You look disgusting." And those are all actual real comments from people, by the way. You just never do that in the street, or if you did, you'd probably expect to be punched by someone.
Yeah.
So it's the valid, the fact that they feel that enabled to do it online, as if it doesn't have impact or doesn't upset someone, and I pretty resilient, strong person, but flipping hell, it does hurt. Like yesterday, sadly, I'd been off my phone most of the weekend. We'd been away at a friend's 50th party, so my cup was full. Stupidly checked in, wish I flipping hadn't, because I last night felt like I'd been punched.
Oh, Abbey.
And it's just really hard to try and understand. And my husband says to me, "Oh, don't take it personally," but I'm like, they're literally attacking my hair, my skin, my clothes, my very existence. Like, it's really difficult not to take that personally. And actually, I do respond to them because I am not letting them. They are on my page that I've curated. I've worked flipping hard to create this business and survive through lockdown. And if they have chosen to come on my page, I choose to respond, and try and have a bit of fun with it, and then I block them. But I do want to have the last word, rightly or wrongly. But for me, that it gives me back my power, and maybe just makes them think, probably not. But actually, some people have then come on and replied to my comments and said, "Oh, wow, I love the fact that you've answered back." And I
Yeah.
feel like maybe it's given that woman a bit of permission to be more herself and be more feisty. So actually, I'm digging into this now, but it doesn't detract from the fact that it's flipping hard and really unpleasant and horrible.
And it's that thing, isn't it, that where you're showing up, standing in your power, and the need in us all, because we all look for that validation, is the need in our is celebration, isn't it? It's let's celebrate because what you're doing is you're celebrating women. It's not like you're going in there and going, "We're all dicks." It's like you're going, "Hello, let's just be the best version of ourselves that we can be," and actually lean into who we want to be. And that word that you use, that unfurling, let's unfurl ourselves at every different life stage. It's
Yeah.
not a case that this is the person you are at 20 and then this is still the person you're going to be at 50 or 60. Actually, 50 and 60 are massive ages for going, actually, I want to be that. That's the person I wanted to be, and now I can be that person. So what was the post? I mean, were you being really contentious, Abby? Were you putting yourself out there to were you saying something about Donald Trump or something?
No, no. I mean, the weird thing is, so Friday's post was a post that I created, called "Three Things I Won't Do as Your Stylist," and then kind of dot dot dot. So it's all, those posts tend to do quite well. But it was about, and I was talking about the fact that I'm not changing you. I'm letting you be you, but the next version of you. I'm not going to force trends on you that don't feel like you. It's about finding a style that aligns with you. So it's all about connection, basically, and the things that I won't do and the things that I do. But in the background, I'm kind of getting dressed. And this is the interesting thing. So I've had so many people come at me for the outfit, and I am wearing I've got so many more feisty outfits. So God knows what they think of this. I'm wearing a white top, a gold long skirt, and a navy jacket. It's so inoffensive.
How
And
fucking dare you wear that? I mean,
know
that's shocking.
it's absolute disgraceful. So I've been told to get longer hair because I look like a man. I've been told to wear a shorter skirt. I've been told to wear a belt. I've been told, who do I think I am? that my purse is disgusting. My bedroom is horrible. Like, you just would not believe it. And I'm thinking, God, I'm literally out here just doing a post about how I help people as a stylist. Yet you're coming for the outfit, which is so secondary. It's like behind all the words. So I'm like, wow, people have spent a lot of time looking at that post to find the outfit for a start, and then decided to make unpleasant comments about it and also it's not just that, it's women telling me what to do. Wear a shorter skirt. Why? Be more feminine. Why? And that's what I've said to them. Why? Gone back and said, why?
Yeah.
Have more feminine hair. What's feminine to you? I love my short hair, and that's the sort of thing that I've tried to respond to. I'm even a bit shaky when I'm talking about it now, because it is personal. I'm in my bedroom, putting an outfit on. And a lot of people saying, well, if you don't like it, don't be on the internet. I disagree with that. How dare they? I'm on the internet because I'm trying to reach more wonderful women to work with and help them feel more powerful and feel more like themselves. How dare you tell me not to be on the internet? I think actually, trolls, you don't need to be on the internet. You need to go somewhere very far away and have a long, hard look at yourself. Maybe get a hobby, have a bit more time to do something else and think about your words. And a couple of times I thought, are these bots? Because some of the comments are a bit weird, and I'll clear them out, obviously, if they are. And actually, a couple of the pages I looked through, they're grandparents. And I'm like, wow. So they are on a much younger woman's page than them. There they are with their grandchildren. Do they think their grandchildren would be proud of them, hearing them diss another woman? Like, it's so sad. It's so sad, the reality of being online. Obviously, I've opened myself up to it by being there, by existing.
But the fact of the matter is, you're building a business, aren't you? We all have to show up. If any of your business if you're marketing your services as a human, can't not show up online these days, because otherwise you're missing a really key element of the marketing mix. And part of the marketing mix, because people buy you, people buy me, is to show up as you are. So this is about you building your business, but it doesn't mean to say that you don't take it personally. And that's the really hard thing, is that it doesn't matter how much work we do on the next version of ourselves. It doesn't matter how much work we do on gifting ourselves and saying the good things to ourselves. Sometimes it can just take 3 harsh words from an utter bellend, trying to be polite-ish. I was trying to think of all the words I could use.
Yeah, me too.
Cockwomble. I think that's a really good swear word. It's a strong swear word, that. Coming in and actually saying things that can just knock you off how good you're feeling. And that's the hard thing, as well as women, because I think it affects women more than men, is that the judgment from other women is really harsh. And we spend a lot of time going, women supporting women and let's all do it. And don't get me wrong, there's some brilliant women out there supporting women, but there's some utter dickheads as well. And you can't help but take it personally. And what I love about what you're doing, which I know I'm not taking away from the fact how much this is rocking your soul, but what I love about what you're doing is you're going, no, I'm not standing for it. Because what we're taught to do, again, it's this conforming, it's this let's step away from that, is actually, we need to go, no, it's not acceptable. You are not doing this. This is my space. And these are the rules in my space. And actually, therefore, I do give myself permission to go back at you.
Yeah, and I've had a real back and forth with myself and my husband and other friends about what the right thing to do is, and it's a difficult one to navigate, because you like you say, you've kind of taught to be better than them, but actually I think they if they choose to put themselves out there, as they've said to me, well, then I can choose to respond in a way that feels good to me. And I'm not being rude. I'm being a little bit spiky, don't get me wrong, because I think you've been actually really unpleasant, and I've called it out or just made some suggestions in terms of telling me what to wear, because we do that as women, and often as well, wear something more feminine, wear something shorter, wear this. And I find that almost kind of as offensive. And I suppose some people might say, well, you're a stylist, you're telling people what to wear. But it's a collaboration. When I'm working with a client, I'm not telling them, I'm making suggestions, and it becomes collaborative. So I'm like, how does that make you feel? Yes, and my job is to challenge people and put them somewhere they might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but all done in a really supportive, held, kind space, and done from a point of view of wanting that woman to fly. And what they're doing is not done to support me in any way at all. It's to try and belittle and shame me somehow. So yeah, so we'll see. But I am almost thinking, I don't know if Facebook is the place for me. But then my friend said, yeah, but maybe it is. Maybe it needs you there to push back on the people. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I don't want to waste too much energy on it. But it is very sad that every single nasty comment is from a woman. Every single one.
Yeah. And I think that's what your friend said is really powerful, is that, you know, and what you've just said is it's choosing not to waste your energy. So if you're going back, where do you put it? In that box that you can control, and it's within your circle of control, because you can't influence what somebody else is going to do, you know. And we know the facts that ultimately these women that are putting their hateful things, it's about them. It's about how they feel about themselves. It's about their own insecurities. It's about the frameworks that they've put around themselves to almost protect themselves, because they're maybe frightened of showing up, or they're just narcissistic dickheads, because there are those people out there as well. Yeah. But what's really important for you, and the words that you use there, which doesn't make me want to scoop you up and say, leave the internet, is, you know, what you said is you're choosing to respond. And that's the fact, is that you've said the word respond instead of react, and you've said choice. And when we talk about choice and we talk about how we respond, we've got the power. It's when we're reacting to stuff that we're giving the power to somebody else. And therefore, if you're going, right, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to respond between 5 and 6 on a Thursday night, because that's when I'm giving myself permission to go back at them. But then I'm not going to let it become an energy drain, because you need to put your energy into other places. So talk to me about, because when we talked about in our little chat before, we talked about the fact that you were quite a shy teenager. So how did you move from shy teenager to this glorious vision before me that people can't see, but you know, the style that you have now that is absolutely yours, the style that you own, that you said to me you didn't want to blend in anymore. So how did you move from that?
Yeah, it was a really interesting journey. I remember at school showing up to one of those kind of non-school uniform days, and I just didn't like any of the fashions and things that I saw around me. And I had got this pair of, they were man's jeans, because I'm quite tall and I'm long in the torso. Back then it was really hard for me to find jeans. So men's jeans, and then I borrowed one of my dad's kind of oversized shirts, and I wore that. And I remember just the way people looked at me was so different. It was, you know, from the person in the uniform. I think perhaps because I'd come alive a little bit and took up my space and sort of stepped into that outfit. And I can remember that. Obviously still remember it now. And I was like 15 or whatever at the time. It's quite a long time ago now. But I remember that feeling of people suddenly noticing me, and it feeling a little bit scary initially, because I'd sort of been the forgotten weirdo, or the one that people avoided. And I'd got really used to that space, because I could just get on with things then. I didn't have to deal with all of the shenanigans that went with that. And then all of a sudden it was like I was being kind of noticed more, and it just gave me such a massive boost in confidence. It really did. And it really lingered. And then when I left school and I went straight out to work, one of my first jobs was I was a receptionist for the company that made the black cabs. It was I really loved working there, actually. It was really fun. So I was on reception, so it was very people oriented. And about 2 weeks in, the managing director said, "Oh, I'm going to send you out with one of the girls on the office team to buy a uniform." And I was like, "Oh my God, I must look really shit for him to want to do that." And I can't remember what I was wearing then. But we went to Dorothy Perkins. She took me to Dorothy Perkins. She actually became a really good friend of mine after that. I'd been a bit scared of her up until then. And she really took her under my wing. She's like, "Let's go shopping." They gave me, I think, £100, let's say, which to me seemed like a fortune at the time. I was 18. And we bought 3 suits: a grey pinstripe suit, and then a navy one, and then I think it's like a pale pink one. And I felt like the flipping boss lady in those, let me tell you. It just transformed how I felt. And again, the way I was seen. And I remember the few days later when the MD walked in, he came up and said, "Oh, hello, are you our new receptionist?" I thought he was joking, but he genuinely hadn't recognised me. And I thought, I was a bit, yeah, I didn't know what to think about that. But now I look back and think it again changed the way I viewed myself. But not only that, it changed the way that other people viewed me. And it made me feel noticed and seen and all of those things. And it just started that kind of little journey of, oh, wow, what you wear really impacts the way that you feel about yourself, but also the way other people see you and the way that other people interact with you as well. And it kind of, yeah, it went from there until I, became really interested in fashion. But I mean, I didn't become a stylist for a really long time because you go off and do other things, don't you? And I went to London at about 22 and decided to find my fortune. And I just sort of decided I was going. And I got a place with a group of girls. And I hadn't got a job at that time. And I'd been for an interview at the Mirror Group, got down to the final two, hadn't got that job, felt a bit heartbroken. And about 5 days before I was due to move to London, got a call from the Mirror Group saying, "We've got a job. Do you want it?" There was a kind of interview and a chat, but it was a bit like that. And so actually when I arrived in London, I had a job, and it was an amazing job for the Mirror Group for their sports division. So I worked mainly on the Racing Post because they owned the horse racing newspaper, the Racing Post at the time. And again, that job taught me so much about clothes because we did a lot of hosting with a lot of very wealthy people. And, I'm like 22, 24 at the time, definitely can't afford, Gucci or everything else they're wearing. And I was like, I can't compete with them. So what could I do? How could I be noticed? I was quite young and there weren't many women working on the Mirror Group at the time at all. So to go to one of these events was often quite intimidating. And again, I started to look at outfits as a way to connect, be part of a community that I felt a bit sort of scared of being part of. And it sort of happened kind of quite quickly and quite beautifully. And I found pieces in vintage shops that I knew no one else would be wearing. And I then started to get recognised for the outfits, and everyone would come up to me, not everyone, but lots of people would come up to me at events and things and say, "Oh, we're waiting for you to arrive to see what you were wearing." And then I was accepted, I was in, and then I could show people how good I was at my job. But I just needed that way in. And for me, it was clothes that have done it for me again and again throughout my life, from feeling very shy and very ostracised to feeling completely part of a very big, affluent community and doing it in a way that felt really good for me, but made me feel part of something. So yeah, it's been a long and interesting journey, but it taught me so much about the power of a flipping great outfit.
And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because there's a couple of things there, isn't there? That there's that need and want and desire to be noticed, which I really resonate with. When actually, how do people recognise you? Is it, oh, she's a woman that presents with the glasses? Is she the woman that, that shows up with the wide leg trousers, or, whatever it is?
Yeah.
But equally, there's a little bit of fitting in as well. How do you become accepted? And I again, that's something I massively resonate with. I remember when I first started my career in PR, and I was working back in the day for a really big PR company, and everybody I worked for was richer than me. Obviously, I was like a lot younger, but they were all sort of, I'm from Manchester, and they were all from the other side of the Barton Bridge. They were a little bit Cheshire dialing. And I remember being invited to one of the women's weddings, and it was at Mere Country Club, which was a proper fancy pants country club. And I remember looking around and thinking, I've nothing to wear. There's nothing that I can show up in that makes me feel part of this. And at this time, I was incredibly ambitious, and I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be promoted. I wanted to be heard. And I think that's the thing that is worth exploring, is how we're heard through our clothes.
Yeah.
And anyway, I went to Debenhams, and I found this Debenhams. I mean, it was hardly Gucci, but I went to Debenhams and I found this beautiful dress, which I can still picture now. It was stunning. It was £90, and it was like really expensive for me then. It was like, well, it'd be still quite expensive now. And I bought it, and I wore it for the wedding, and I felt great. I felt really good. And then, sorry, Debenhams, I took it back afterwards. I kept the label in it. I'm really sorry. I know that that's a really bad thing to do, but there's lots of us out there that have done it. I'm really sorry, retailers. And I actually remember taking it back and the woman saying to me, oh, it's got a mark on it. It's got a lipstick mark on it. I went, yes, that's why I'm bringing it back. That's how I bought it. I know, I'm a bad human. I'm a bad human. But I couldn't afford to keep it. I'm sorry. That was like, I bought lots of stuff from Debenhams since and kept it. So, I'm winning at life. But that transformation that you talked about, it transformed how I felt and how I was seen. That must be something that you see time and time again, or you work with time and time again with women, because it is about how we're seen, isn't it? How we see ourselves when we look in the mirror. But let's be honest, how we want other people to see us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because it somehow gives us that validation, and I know I work with a lot of women who don't necessarily want to be, noticed as much as perhaps I might do. But there's definitely something in there about confidence, feeling confidently themselves. And again, I have lots of women who do want to show up. They're really taking their business to the next level. They want to get speaking gigs. They want to be noticed. And so it's like, how do they stand out in what is quite a noisy space online? It's very noisy now. There's lots of people, and feeling great and looking great, or looking how you want to, can really help cut through that noise and get you remembered. And I think that memorability is really important. I remember going to this a couple of months ago, going to this founders. It was about funding, and I'm not raising funding or anything, but I went to it because I thought it'd be really interesting. The speakers were really interesting, and I remember the guy running it. He said he came and introduced himself. There's quite a lot of people there, and he said, "Oh, I remember you because I looked you up online. I recognised your green glasses." And I thought it was really interesting. And I stopped to chat to him for a bit because he said, "Oh, are you kind of raising funds or anything?" And I said, "No, I'm actually just here for the speakers and just to, be in a room with other brilliant women." And he said, "Oh, that's really cool." He said, "Oh, I think there's something in that with when women are raising funding and things, that's standing out because it's a noisy space." And he said, "It's so powerful if you can remember someone," because he said, "You're trying to remember people's names and where you saw them, whether it was online, whether it's in person. And actually, when you remember something about their clothing, it could be something really simple, like he'd remember my glasses. It's really powerful. And it means you're the one that's remembered." And that really stuck with me because I thought, yeah, it's really powerful, especially if you are trying to get noticed in a noisy space, or you want to stand out for whatever reasons. Maybe you're dating and you want to stand out, or maybe you're in a workspace where you keep being overlooked and actually want to be flipping seen because what you say is powerful and important, and your company needs you, but you just need to be noticed. And I work with a lot of women who are out trying to get a new job, and they're going to interviews feeling like they're not kind of really showing up as themselves, not really feeling represented. So there's so much in that about being seen, being truly seen, and like you said, being heard as well. And sometimes you just need that way in. And that's what I love, that little, it could be something so small, but it becomes memorable and what you're kind of almost known for. And that's powerful. That's really powerful. Because then it's, for me, it's like, put the glasses on, ready to go. Abbey, full power, on air, ready for whatever life throws at me, whether it's trolls or whatever it is, and it's kind of, it's like your superhero cape, I think, those pieces that make you feel powerfully yourself.
Yeah, I love it. And that shield is coming back to what you were talking about, is what makes you memorable. I'll never forget one of my friends, she was trying to buy a house, and she was going through all the estate agents. And this was when the property market, it's many, many years ago, and the property market was absolutely going bonkers where I live. And she said every time she went into the estate agents, she was just in the same queue, having the same conversations with the same people. And she did it subconsciously, but she said, suddenly I realised that I needed to do something to go in there so that they would know, oh, you need to talk to Fran. So she said, so I started wearing a bonkers hat. She said, I wore a bonkers hat with every single estate agent I went into. And she said, and all of a sudden, she started getting the calls because she was seen, and then they heard what she was asking for. And actually, for her, then they used to ring up and say, oh, I was thinking about Fran with the hat, and she got the house. She got the house before everyone else. Now, life, of course, is not that simple every time, but it's using it to our advantage, isn't it? That's the key, I guess, of what I'm hearing from you, is that how do we use our clothes to tell the stories that we choose to tell?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Beautifully put. Yeah. How do we choose? Yeah, it's always a choice. Now, how do we want to show up? What do we need out of our day? Each day we're doing something different, and we might need something a little bit different from our outfit. Sometimes we need a hug, and it's having those soft, gorgeous clothes that can envelop you and hug you and give you that kindness and softness that you need on a quiet day at home or whatever. And then it's having that powerful suit or powerful dress or whatever it is when you're stepping up and giving a presentation or going to or whatever it is. And we need elements of all of those things, because we're not just one person, are we? We're not just doing one thing. We fulfill so many different roles. And it's having a wardrobe where you can reach for those things and know absolutely what you need. You're like, today is I don't know, power day, or today is a calm day. And therefore I'm going to choose those things that help me feel like that and help me get there, so that I can be seen and heard, or that I can hide away at home and have a quiet day in my garden or whatever it is. But it's about having those tools that enable you to make great choices for yourself.
Yeah. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is I talk about, instead of doing a stupid to-do list, which is really stupid because actually it just gives your brain a get out, you call it an action list or a task list. But instead of doing that when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself how you want to show up today. Do you want to show up with calmness? Do you want to show up with positivity? Do you want to show up with clarity? Do you want to show up with focus? Do you want to show up with productivity? Do you want to show up with creativity? Whatever it is. But then the next step, actually, which is brilliant from what you're talking about, is okay, then dress for that. If you want to show up with calmness, do you have an outfit? Do you have an anchor? Do you have a piece of jewelry or something that you put on that makes you feel that way? And then that helps the tools, doesn't it? It builds the toolkit for then you giving
Yeah.
yourself the scaffolding to crack on and do that thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's recognizing that. And that's why I often encourage clients to choose an outfit like the night before, because it helps ground you and you know absolutely what you're wearing. And it doesn't mean you have to wear that in the morning if you wake up and you're like, no, I'm feeling a bit more punchy, or I need a bit more color, because you can still change your mind, but actually having that laid out sometimes really settles some of my clients, especially when on those big days when they're like, oh, and you might be rushing around in the morning. I don't know about you, sir, but my mornings just, I always think I've got more time. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God. And like you're rushing around. And for me, just having my outfit there and ready. And, I do mine on a Sunday night, and I usually take a cup of tea or might be a glass of wine, depending on what time of day it is, what mood I'm in. And I just go and I have a play with my wardrobe. It literally is like 20 minutes. It's not a really long time, but that helps really grounds me. And I know for everyone that doesn't necessarily work, but sometimes doing it the night before just really helps you. It also helps you get to know your wardrobe more, because we do tend to reach for the same things over and over again. It's the 80-20 rule. We tend to use 20% of our wardrobe on repeat, and there's 80% more things in there. And when you have that little bit of time, you often find a top you've not worn for ages, or you dig out that necklace because you're like, oh, that would be really good, or that necklace always helps me feel calm, or whatever it might be. And it's sort of checking in with, like you said, the feelings that we want to feel, and then trying to coordinate an outfit with that, or the outfit might push us because we need to get somewhere. And it's just taking that time to do it. But I think time is sort of the most precious commodity, isn't it? And the one that we've probably all got the least of, and we're trying to cram as much as we can in. But for me, it's about saying to clients, take a bit of time, 10 minutes. Like you deserve 10 minutes. You can carve 10 minutes into your day. It doesn't have to be big and complicated. It can be those small moments that have big results and big impact.
And it's back to what you were saying about this self-care that we're gifting ourselves is, okay, have a think about how you want to show up this week. Like I'm with McLaren on Wednesday. I coach some of the women at McLaren. It's absolutely brilliant. I bloody love it. So I'm in Woking. And then on Thursday, I'm with a school of music in London doing some work with a whole away team on resilience and team building and everything. And I've got two sort of very separate days. And then I know it's really hot. So I'm already thinking about what I'm going to wear, and maybe realise that I do wear just 20% of my wardrobe as well. And mainly black as well, Abby. I'm really sorry. I absolutely subconsciously think about how I want to show up and what I want to do and how I want to appear in the office, in the room. And since I've started doing more talks and presenting, that has supercharged. But
Yeah.
part of me wishes I'd almost done it 10 years ago, and shown up for but I think we probably do it a little bit subconsciously, I think we probably
Yeah.
look around and go, right, okay, how is everyone showing up and what are they all wearing? And do I want to be part of that? Or do I want to be noticed like you were talking
Yeah.
about earlier? How do I want to be noticed and what do I want to be noticed for? Which is maybe questions that we should be asking ourselves a little bit more. And so on that, are there any, just before we wrap up, apart from the very important question I need to ask you, but before we wrap up, are there any sort of top tips if there's women listening to this and they're going, right, well, where do I start? Apart from picking up the phone and going, shit, Abby, I need you in my life. And we'll put all the links on the podcast so everyone can get in touch with you. But apart from that, are there any top tips that you can gift women that say, right, okay, if you're thinking about your unfurling, if you're thinking about you're feeling there's a bit of a disconnect at the moment of who you are currently and who you want to be, how you want to show up, are there any top tips that you can gift them?
Yeah, one of my favorite tips is a bit of people watching. I think that could be really useful when you're feeling that disconnect and you're thinking, like, what is my style now? Where is it going? We always have like a bit of a core style, that things that perhaps we've always loved. Like for you, might always have been black, and for me, it's always been kind of trouser suits. I love a trouser suit, and I've always had them. Right from when I was 18 and got that first pinstripe trouser suit from Dorothy Perkins that made me feel incredible. So it's thinking about what those core things are. If you can't think what that is, getting out and people watching is a really great way to see what other people are doing with their clothes. And it's not necessarily that you're copying. We're getting inspiration. And it's a really nice way, to get the flip off our phones and not be sold to by influencers or whatever, because we're like, oh, I should be wearing that or whatever. It's about looking at what we like and what we enjoy and getting some inspiration, especially when there's that slight disconnect. Because sometimes just sitting there having a coffee and watching the world go by, you are reminded of things that you've got in your wardrobe that you haven't worn for a while, or it shows you a new way of wearing it. And because you see someone and you're like, wow, I've got trousers like that, I've got a top like that, I could put that together. And all of a sudden you've got a bit of inspiration, a little bit of a light that comes on that inspires you to then go home and look at your wardrobe in a fresh perspective. Because when I'm going and doing wardrobe edit, I'm not buying them any new clothes at the time. Yet most of the time we're creating anything, sometimes really small wardrobes from 16 to 54 plus outfits. Same wardrobe, we've actually edited some of it out. So often our wardrobes are gold dust, but we just need a bit of a fresh perspective to look at it in a new way. So that would be my top tip. It gets us off our phones as well, and sometimes just gets us looking up and out and seeing what people are doing and giving us that little bit of a boost and inspiration. So yeah, do that. I imagine everyone's sitting out with a coffee, like having a nose.
I love people watching and I love going and doing it. So when I'm in London this week, that's where I love going and sitting, because it's a different space to where I usually live and breathe. So I naturally see different people. So therefore you see different ways of how people are wearing things and what people are wearing things. And I do compliment people as well. When I see someone wearing something, I'm like, oh my God, I love that, and then you go, oh, it's got pockets.
yeah, it's got pockets. Yeah, the classic line. But I love that when you pass on a compliment and you can really see the lift in someone when you do it. Even if they know they look good, it doesn't matter. You still see that little, the smile or the little spring in their step, and they walk away, and then they become that. And you said to them, I love your shoes, whatever, and all of a sudden they walk along being like, yeah, I love my shoes. And I think it's like sunshine, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're literally spreading sunshine. I always hope that then they feel that they can then pass on a compliment, and it's like that lovely ripple effect.
It's the best form of TIG or tag, depending on where you live. It's like, actually, how can you tag someone else to help them go through their day, but then pay it forward? And that, there was something that I'd seen on some meme or something that was all about, when you say to someone, I love your shoes, what you're saying to them is actually, you're brilliant, crack on, and as women, that's such a gift we can give other women. And
Yeah.
so I've got to ask, who are your style icons? Who are the people that you go, oh, hello?
Hello. So I love Erica Davies.
Oh,
I think,
yes.
yeah, her print clashing is brilliant. I actually don't wear a lot of print, so I really admire the way that she puts prints together, and creates outfits. And I met her years ago. I was working at John Lewis, at the time, and she is just as lovely as you would imagine. She's really well spoken, really smart, but super polite, very respectful. And I just love it when you know someone online and you've met them only once or twice or whatever, but they are how you imagine them to be. It's so lovely, isn't it? Because often it doesn't work out like that. So I love her, and I love the way that she has just so much joy for her clothes. And you can really see it in her face and the way that she kind of holds herself and carries herself. So I loved Erica Davis. I loved Iris Apfel as well, because I think she did so much for older women to say, show up, and show up absolutely unapologetically with the biggest, boldest, brightest, badass outfit you ever want. So I absolutely loved her, and everything she stood for, and her fearlessness. And is there anyone else? I love just watching people out on the streets, actually. Like you say, if I go into London, because there's so much creativity around and so much passion for clothes, fashion, style, however you want to word it. And I get a lot of inspiration from being out and about and seeing what other people are doing. It's a really great way to look at what people are doing with trends and things, and seeing are people wearing trends? Are they reinterpreting it in new ways? So I'd say those are my top three.
I love it. Yes, absolutely those. And it's how people are not fearing, like you said right at the beginning, there's no such thing as fashion police. It's actually you create your own style. And then when
Yeah.
you've created your own style, then you can live and breathe it. And that gives you permission to show up for the woman you are and the woman you want to be. And the more we show up as the woman we want to be, the more we will be that woman. That's
Yeah.
it's brain science as well
Yeah.
as how we build that scaffolding around us. So, Abbey, my final question, as with all my fabulous podcast guests, is what is your 6-word memoir? So, as I say all the time, the 6-word memoir comes from Ernest Hemingway's shortest story, which evokes emotion, and we interpret it in different ways. Just as you have stories with clothes, we have stories with words that we interpret, don't we? And it could be a mantra, it could be something that's an affirmation for you, it's something that you could live by. But what is your 6-word memoir?
Okay, so I absolutely love doing this, and it came to me on a walk. I'd been kind of brainstorming ideas, and it suddenly came to me, as it often does on those things. So mine is wardrobes opened, stories shared, women seen. I actually want to cry now. I said it. Oh, because
I've made you
that is what I do. Yeah.
say it again. I know you might snot bubbles.
Wardrobes opened, stories shared, women seen.
Story. Oh,
Because the stories are really important. It's why I called my business Stories with Clothes, because that was sort of my story, was that journey with clothes and how it got me to where I am. And I thought there must be other women out there like that. And it is the stories, because when you're doing a wardrobe edit with someone, a wardrobe audit, they do share the story of the clothes, because it's somehow a passing. If they're saying goodbye to something, sharing the story that gives them permission to then say goodbye to it. So I really wanted to try and weave the stories in there, and it just suddenly came to me, and I was like, yes, yeah, I love it.
that is just, and that women scene, oh,
Yeah.
bloody brilliant. I think we should do a masterclass.
Yeah.
I think we should do a masterclass that looks at this wardrobes open, stories shared, and women seen. Let's talk about this afterwards. Abbey, you are bloody amazing. I absolutely love your ethos, how you come at things, the fact that you bring personality to people's style, and actually allowing and enabling and empowering women to be who they want to be and how they want to show up, and telling that story through clothes. It's so bloody powerful, and we don't talk about it enough. So thank you so much for being my fabulous guest.
I have loved it. I felt all the feels as well, which is always the best way to be. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. See you soon.
As we button up another episode of It's Got Pockets, remember that just like that perfect dress with hidden storage, you've got pockets of potential. You can be exactly who you are meant to be with no one getting in your way, not even yourself. Just remember, you're not done yet. That plan B or plan C might be waiting for you. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to work with me, or simply want to connect, come and find me at sarahknightconsultancy.co.uk or on LinkedIn, you'll find me as Knighty S. See you next time.